Hey guys, Kazi here, and we have kind of a surprising update today. We got some patch notes for the PTR for 10.0.5, which is the halfway patch for Season 1 of Dragonflight. It's a little bit sooner than we were kind of expecting these patch notes, but we're happy to see them. What we don't have so far is we don't have a date for either when these updates are going to go live on the PTR that we can test them, or for when the patch itself would be expected. We don't expect it for at least a couple months. Um, but at the same time, we do have a lot of the information about what kind of changes we're expecting, and the biggest changes finally look like they're going to be coming to the Druid talent trees and the different class specific talent trees. Um, for those of you who have been following the channel, you know we've had a lot of gripes about the layout and the building of the Druid talent tree, and Blizzard has. We were hoping for a rework before the release of Shadowlands, or before the release of Dragonflight, rather. Obviously, we didn't get that. We saw some minor changes and some serious tuning improvements that kind of helped float the spec to get to this point. But now we're going to actually see some of that talent tree rework that we've been hoping for, and it's going to be fun. So we're going to talk about what exactly we can see coming as of now, and kind of my thoughts on it. I'll put the link down, or the link to the top, or the article on Wowhead itself down in the description. If you want to check it out, you'll be able to find it there. All right, so after talking about what the tuning changes are then in the class tree. So all druids are going to learn swipe at level 10. It's no longer a talent. Swipe and brutal slash damage are reduced by 50%, but they added a talent which restores that to where it is. One of the biggest issues that people have had maneuvering through this talent tree and the frustration all along is how many 3-point nodes there were. So 2 of those have been fixed. So Killer Instinct is now changed to 2 points, but with the same value, and Nurturing Instincts have changed to 2 points instead of 3. That kind of gives you back 2 points to work. Lycara's teaching down here on the path to Heart of the Wild hasn't been changed, which is still kind of frustrating because that's the only way you're going to get to Heart of the Wild, improved Stampeding Roar Renewal. So that's still kind of frustrating because each of those points is just a couple points of versatility for Guardian, so that's frustrating. But overall, you're getting a couple points back because you're reducing that number of 3-point nodes. You also can see that Skull Bash has moved into a slightly different pathing. Probably makes it a little bit easier for non-feral and Guardian Druids to get to. Then moving down, we have a new talent. Casting Regrowth improves your movement speed and healing received by 5% for either 3 or 6 seconds, depending on how many points you put in it. There's a new choice node for Typhoon. This one down here, because you had Typhoon's position changed. So Typhoon, you can either increase the radius and range of Typhoon or reduce the cooldown of Typhoon. Situationally, either one of those might be useful. Not necessarily hugely impactful, I don't think, but it's an option, especially if you're trying to get down here into Nature's Vigil. And you don't care about Sunfire. It gives you a different way to get down there where you don't feel like you're completely wasting those points. Corruption was moved. You see it's no longer, or it kind of got put over here to the side. It still requires you to drop 3 points into it there that you don't necessarily like spending. Overall, with the class tree, I think that this is definitely a step up, because some of the biggest issues that we had was that we were wasting so many points getting into some of these things down lower on. A lot of that has been remedied. So we're 2-point node, 2-point node, still a 3-point node, but not as bad, and kind of some different pathing options that are going to allow you to pick up a couple more things that you like without having to lose quite as much. So then moving on down to the Guardian changes, skip the balance and the other ones. So Ursine Adept, one of the things that I complained loudly about in one of my first Guardian videos was the fact that Ursine Adept was something you would never be able to not take. 100% had to take it. It was how you spend your it allows you to use different abilities in bear form. They agreed. Now it is just baseline. And another one of the small quality of life things is that they've moved Innervate to also be included in what you can cast while in bear form. So that's added to Ursine Adept. You can now cast Innervate in bear form, which keeps it from being a dead talent in Mythic Plus if you decide to go through Nature's Vigil, which is nice. It means they actually were listening to some of that stuff that we've all been complaining about for a while. And then I'm just going to kind of read this. In the most recent look at the Guardian tree, the primary objective was to open up the final section of the tree. In the previous iteration, there were several bottlenecks restricting access to each final segment. We've added new connections and shuffled talent locations around to allow more points of entry into this section of the tree and offer more freedom of choice. Reinvigoration felt like an outlier both in terms of interest and power level, so switched positions with flashing claws. That's here. Preserve the point balance and maintain decision-making tension. We've also added a few abilities in this section. So these are some of the things that I think are really going to be interesting. So Thorns of Iron. When you cast Iron Fur, also deal physical damage equal to 30% of your armor, split among enemies within 12 yards. So you have an AoE that's going to assist with your threat generation and AoE situations by every time you're dumping rage into Iron Fur stacks, you're doing damage with it, making your baseline Iron Fur a AoE spender, which is awesome. Raise. Strike with the Might of Ursoc, dealing 70% of AP physical damage to all enemies in front of you. Deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets. Replaces Maul. Beautiful. I can't stress enough how changing from having only a single target spender in Maul to having the option to have an AoE spender for your rage is fantastic. It's something that Guardian has been lacking for a very long time. So now when you're looking at Guardian and Mythic Plus, you can have both Thorns of Iron and Raise, and suddenly all of your rage generation is also adding to your AoE damage. Or if you want to go a different route with it, for rage route, you can go back and go with Maul and buffing the Maul talents, which is going to allow them to tune those separately and allow them to kind of have different tuning knobs that they can change for Guardian's AoE power and their single target power, which is something they've been lacking. And it will make it easier to balance the spec in each of those situations and have it be competitive in each of those situations. And then, so those are both going to be over here on the left side of the tree as you're moving through. Then you're adding Moonless Night. When you cast a single target, I think that's going to be this one here. When you cast a single target ability on an enemy affected by Moonfire, you cause them to burn for an additional arcane damage. So this is kind of going to be where you're doubling down into your arcane bear. So down here, you're looking at getting into these talents here. The same thing with Lunar Beam. Summons a beam of lunar light at your location, dealing 10% of AP arcane damage and healing you for 35% of AP over 8.5 seconds. So they're adding more ways that you can generate arcane power and kind of doubling down on putting that power into here. What that's going to be really allow them to do and allow the tree to do now is that you're moving more and more of the arcane side and magic damage bear onto this side of the talent tree. And you're moving a lot more of your physical damage and your Ursoc's Fury Remembered and your Earth Warden and your Invigorate, all your physical damage stuff over here onto the right side. So it's really going to give them two distinct types of playstyles as opposed to kind of locking people into your rage generation here, because you see they now have Blood Frenzy over here accessible from the left side. So you can either take your Galactic Guardian for your rage generation or your Blood Frenzy, which is much better way to lay out the tree. Makes this left side actually be competitive again, which is fantastic for the overall spec. So I'm really excited to get a chance to test this. But so I think that overall the health of the spec is greatly improved with this talent tree, as far as the ability for them to produce a solid build, like the solid spec diversity. Because right now in Mythic Plus, there just isn't a lot of spec diversity if you really want to be competitive. This is going to allow that to be tuned to be closer, and where you could have more of a choice between playing an Arcane Moonfire build or playing the physical damage or Sox Fury build. What we don't have any idea at all on is how the tuning on this is going to look, because after the 50% damage buff that Guardian received is kind of a band-aid to make them viable for this tier. We don't know how that's going to get reined back in now that we have this different talent tree. We don't know what the numbers are going to look like at all. It may be, if they pull this off and the balance is really good, you could have a fantastic diversity, or it can end up being something where one is clearly better or none of the tuning is good. I think that overall this is very, very good for the health of Bear, but we'll have to wait and see exactly how the tuning works to know exactly how strong Bear is going to be. Definitely looking forward, though, to getting on the PTR and testing out some of these builds and even just kind of messing around with the talent calculator. That's going to do it for this one. I just wanted to kind of get this out and kind of talk about what is changing and my initial thoughts on it. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think and what kind of builds you're excited to see with it.